How's it going today? I think I'm gonna try and bang out the lift kit on this. It's pretty much just a leveling kit, like little spacers, 1.5 inches in the back, 2 inches in the front. Should level it out. Gonna get the cars moved around, move the truck over, back the 32 coupe out of the garage, which I'll show you. I'll do a little walk around, and then we'll get the pink Jeep in there and get the door shut to keep the warmth in. We're snug, but we're gonna get it done. So I'm gonna pull the tires and wheels off the front. I'll do the front first, and then I'll probably back it out, spin it around, and then I'll do the back with it towards the front, so I'm not working off the back of it too much. I don't know, we'll see. Maybe I'll just leave it the way it is to keep as much heat in here as I can. So this is it. All they are, these little, I believe these are the 1.5 inch ones, and those are the 2-inch ones. Some hardware, bolt them down, and some instructions. So that's it. There's the kit numbers. I didn't get the one with the shocks. Her last Jeep, my wife's last Jeep, I didn't run the shocks either, and I didn't really have any problems. So hopefully we don't with this one. This is also a Sahara. Her last one was a Sport, so this is just a tad taller. So all right, tires off, jack stands are underneath, got both of them in there. Left myself about 1 foot of space to drop the axle down. This side we're going to do the brake line retainer nut, the shock bolt, just the bottom one, the bottom of the sway bar end link, the drag link, and the track bar on this side to give myself enough ease to drop it down. On the other side, it's just going to be that nut, the shock bolt, and the sway bar end link, and that'll give us enough room. So I got all that stuff out. I didn't end up taking off the track bar, or the drag link and the tie rod, I mean. And as you can see, just from dropping it down, you get hung up on the bottom, but I could probably go the other way. Let it down a tad bit more. There you go. Rookie mistake. Make sure you take this off. I just stretched that pretty good. Comes down way easier. And just like that. I believe that spacer stays up there just like that. And I'll get the parts and show you how they go in. Alright, let's see. Alright, so this rubber isolator comes out. Don't throw that. The 2-inch, let's see, spacer goes in, and you gotta line up these way up in here, and you'll feel it lock in. The Teraflex logo is pretty much pointing right at you. Take your rubber spacer, clock it. You can always put this together before, and it pretty much sits up in there. It's gonna drop down just because it's getting caught on this. That's fine, it'll stay up in there while I get the spring back in. Just make sure it clocks back up into the dimple holes in the top. And let's try and swing this way this time. Oh, way easier. So make sure everything's setting right. You're gonna want to get your spring down here, and all this has to be in the right spot. You feel that locking up there. I'll jack it up. You can almost see it's hard, but there's holes up there. Without the camera, when you guys are doing it, if you decide to do this just for a couple extra inches, you'll be able to see in the top of that spring bucket where it's locking in. So I'm gonna go ahead and jack this up, and that's one side. Come back, boom, locked in. I'll feel around, make sure that my rubber isolator's in the right spot. Feels like it. Bottom of the spring's in, and just gonna go ahead and jack it back up. First thing I'm gonna put on, just because it's the hardest, is gonna be this bolt right here. Once you get that lined up, you don't have to worry about having everything else bolted in and then having to ratchet strap the axle back into position. You should be able to get it just by jacking it up with everything else disconnected. It did take a little bit of prying, but it's in there. Now I'll make sure everything's lined up the rest of the way. Jack it back up some more. You want to leave pretty much all this stuff loose until it's down on the tires again, back at ride height, and then you can snug it back up. It'll keep from all these rubber bushings and all these points from binding when that'll happen when you bolt it together, when it's at hanging, not where it's constantly resting. Just like that. Shock hole, there goes that socket, throwing away. shock bolt holes lined up. Pop that right in. Drop that. Definitely need a bigger garage. Packing it in here right now. You can take this, put it back on, slap that nut back on there. No, it would help if I'm pointing at it. And for these, when I put these leveling kits on, I just give these brackets a little bend. And that I've never had any problems, even with my Gladiator. I did the same thing. And that's got Rubicon suspension on it. And pretty much the same style leveling kit like this. And even at full flex, that's not what's holding me back, is stretching out the brake line. So I'll finish jacking it up. I'll get that sway bar link back on. Get this stuff snugged but not tight. And I'll move on to the other side. So, a couple extra things on this side. I took this bracket off up here. It had the breather tube. It's a little hard to see. The breather tube for the front diff made it pretty tight. Still is a little tight, but you know, you could just pop off the breather tube from there, but I've got enough room, I believe. So I don't think I'm going to do that. I'm just going to go ahead and swap this spring out same way as last time, and I'll show you putting the wheels back on. Alright, that's it. That's as easy as it is. Both sides are done. Gonna go and slide these tools to the side, get the wheels on, and probably gonna flip the Jeep around. That way I have plenty of room to work. Because there's not good lighting, as you can tell. All my lighting is towards the front. So throw the wheels on, we'll get it backed out, backed in, and make it happen. Alright, backed in. Try to give myself a little more room. Hopefully evenly on both sides. Yeah, it's better. It's just tight. So we'll get the back jacked up, get the wheels off. This one's a little different. These back spacers actually bolt in with, you know, nut bolts, a big washer that goes on top. So same thing. I'll find the best spot, set up the time lapse, and we'll get after it again. All right, so let's see if I can stick this somewhere to... Where's my magnets going? All right, so I took off the bolt for the brake lines, and then we went down and took off the shock stuff and the stuff for the sway bar end link right here. It's all a little hard to see. I don't have any good lighting out here. So this, and this. The sway bar end link and the rear shock lower stuff. It's an 18mm bolt, an 18mm nut for both of those. And the brake line bracket's a 13mm. And then on the other side, I'll take the track bar bolt off, probably at the bottom if it's easier to get to. If not, I'll come back over here and just do this one since it's right here. So we'll just blast this stuff off. Bam, that's loose. Put that there. Let me go after this stuff real quick. And I'll try and thread the nuts and bolts back together that go. That way they don't get mixed up. These honestly look like they're the same, but I'd prefer not to. So then that's what we get when we drop the axle down. That shock will come out, this is off. And make sure that's out of the way. Make sure the shock's out to the other side. Make sure it doesn't hang up and there we go. So let's see if I honestly think we're getting held up by this track bar right here. So I already have that socket out on widgets. You know what? That's gonna be there. I'll do the French on the other side real quick. We'll drag back up. Push all that top door. We'll do it. Back to the scheduled programming. That track bar bolts out. Oh yeah. Definitely went lower. Try and get a little lower. Not 100% sure if anything else is holding this up. All this stuff's loose. There we go. And you've seen how easy that was. Pulled that spring out. Isolator fell out right here. And that's going to be our working space. So, I'll do that. Ugh, dirt. It's a Jeep. That upper spacer is going to bolt right through that hole. And it'll clock that 1.5 inch spacer for the back. I'll get that done. I'll set up a little time lapse. It's a little cumbersome, it's hard to get up in there, so this is going to take a minute. They're both in, both sides. Now I got to put the end links, the shocks, make sure everything's lined up, brake line brackets, throw the wheels on, then we'll pull it out and take a look around. The front already looks better. So let's get this wrapped up and get it back together. I had a hard time getting the spacers bolted in the top because the slip washer, it had an opening like this, kept slipping out and it wasn't lining up, and I had a hard time getting a wrench in there, but I got it. So let's get it buttoned up. All right, there it is. It's definitely sitting a little taller. I'll try and grab a screenshot of it sitting out here before and now. I didn't take any measurements, but it's as easy as that. Maybe it took me an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I've done this before on my truck, my wife's last JL, some dude from Tom's River who actually traded me the hard top for my soft top that came on my truck. Almost a straight up trade. I couldn't have gotten a better deal from a nicer guy. So I'm gonna go probably put the 32 back in here and take the wife's Jeep for a test drive and make sure everything's good, no noises, steering wheel straight, and all that good stuff. All right, just went around, torqued all the wheels down, checked all my bolts. We're gonna go take this thing for a test drive and see if the steering wheel's straight and if it makes any noises. I don't really have a GoPro holder in here, so maybe I can hold this thing like this, go give her a rip. There she goes. This is pretty close to my truck. So wife's gonna go. She wants to go grab some coffee and take it for a ride. She's gone. When she gets back, I am gonna take some measurements on my truck and her JL. I think between the Rubicon suspension and the Teraflex spatial lift, like the same thing I just put on hers, I got about 3 inches total in the front and about 1.5 inches, 2 inches in the back, because nothing went in the back of my truck. It's just because they come with rake for towing. And then she's got a Sahara, so they sit a little taller than a Sport, and she just got 2 inches in the front, 1.5 inches in the back, and she seems to think that hers is taller than mine. So I'm gonna have to measure and see, because she's running 35s, I'm running 37s. I would say, I guess the lift is about the same. And if she comes out taller, I'm gonna have to lift mine more, because that can't happen. And I would love to do 40s. So I'll wait for her to get back, and then I'll take some more measurements, park my truck as close as I can, get a few side-by-sides, and I'll even throw in some pictures of before and after. I don't think it's a huge difference. It feels taller. It looks a smidge taller, but I also look at the damn thing almost every day, so we'll wait for her to get back. My wife seems to think that her Sierra is as tall as my truck, or taller. I don't know. Dang. I actually think her drip rail might be a little tall. Oh man, her drip rail is taller than mine. All right, gonna measure them from the bottom of the mirror. Bottom of her mirror's 52 3/4. Man, I hope mine's taller. Oh yeah, bottom of my mirror's 53 1/4, so it's about an inch taller. I'll do the got a rain guard up here too, so 72 1/4 and 72 1/2. Can I not read a tape measure? I gotta kind of tilt hers because of her running board, but hers is more like 71 1/4, so mine's taller. So that settles that. That's I still got an inch on her. That's a wrap. No complaints from the wife. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.